it will be less cumbersome for everybody concerned. But I think that anybody who says that we've done well is not really being honest with the system. We haven't done well at all. And you don't have to rely on me to say that. You will see that almost everybody who is involved in it, both the winner and the losers, are complaining one way or the other.
Okay, we will try to skip what we can skip, but if it comes, we will be careful about it, as you have said. But let's try to see what we can address. Let's go a little bit more personal than just talking wide. You promised to unite this country and eradicate poverty, and now you lost an election. How far with that dream? How do you intend to pursue that dream, or have you dropped it for good? No,
not at all. You see, I'm more concerned about poverty and insecurity. I believe that the basis for unity is already there. It's just that it's a unity that is affected by a crisis. It's like a couple, they've agreed to get married, and they have now married. But if they are dealing with housing issue, dealing with how to feed the family, dealing with unemployment, you see that they will have a lot of irritation. There will be a lot of tension in the relationship. And that is what is happening in Nigeria. Nigerians are united to be together. For people like me, even people before who are older than me, we've not known any other country than Nigeria. I don't think anybody is alive today. Very few people are alive today who were not born Nigerians. Because anyone born since 1915 has always known Nigeria. So, and I used to listen to my great-grandmother telling me about time before Nigeria was created. But I don't see anybody around now these days who knows that. And majority of the people we have now were born after independence. So you see that this is the only country we have, and everyone you see now has always been around, every ethnicity, every religion. So we are in this together. But what I wanted to do was to remove areas where we have conflict. And that area will be the area of the artificial scarcity, which our misgovernance has created. So where we compete for things that we should have in abundance. So we compete for job placements. So as a result of that competition, we use religion, we use ethnicity to compete. We compete for school enrollment. So if you have 1 million students trying to go to university and you have just about 300,000 spots, then you are likely to be doing area of zonal thing. You start to do catchment area. You have to do all of that. If you have kids trying to go to federal government colleges, where you're supposed to have one per local government, or one per senatorial district, or per federal district, you have like one in 3 states. So then you will have to now start rationing it. Then you will say, okay, if you're from this state, you have more of your type of your people in that place. So these are all the things that bring tension. So during the campaign, I made a lot of references to how it used to be when you graduate from school, 5 jobs waiting for you. There was no room for you to remember that you have somebody from your family working there or from your town, because you had 5 options. You had to choose one. But now, if you're trying to recruit simple thing like policemen, you are trying to recruit 10,000, 200,000 will apply. Then you will now be forced to say, okay, we cannot take all the 10,000 from one place. Therefore, let's ration it. So these are the things that cause tension.
The rationing, as you're saying it,
yes.
A lot of people have blamed it on the population. And a lot of things that are going wrong, people have also blamed it, especially those people at the helm of affairs anyway, said that the population is causing things to be scarce, as you are saying. So do you think the 5 jobs that were waiting for the people in the 60s, for instance, could have still been the order of the day now that we have a population of over 200 million?
It's not the population, it's the mismanagement of resources. We have more resources now than we had before. We have more skills now than we have before. What we don't have is we have a weaker leadership than we had before. We We had a fairer leadership before. We had many parts of Nigeria at that time were not developed. There were not much. When we got independence, how many industries did we have? But they were serious about it. They tried to create opportunity. What is happening now is that we'll be having government that have not been creating opportunities. And when you don't create opportunities, especially well-structured opportunities, there will be artificial scarcity. And when you misapply resources, what it means is that the portion of the population that has access to public resources will be shrinking further and further, and you leave the rest to fend for themselves. So it's about making investment in structure. So there's a government now that is coming in. So this is where they need to pay attention. It doesn't matter who won the election. The problems will remain the same. You have to deal with security. You have to keep the country secure. In terms of territorial integrity, in terms of neighborhood safety, in terms of law and order, you need, and in terms of other security that people need to have. Employment is a form of security because it guarantees that you have an income. So if you are working, for example, in NNPC, you know that unless you misbehave, you're likely to spend your entire career there. So you are secure. If you work in central bank, if you work in the university as a professor, as a lecturer, you know that once you get employment into these places, unless you misbehave, you are secure. And many of the other good companies. So we need to create more of that so that people have that sense of security, and that way they would kind of plan their life, they will behave better, and they will be able to also assist others who are coming, because the essence of governance is that you solve immediate problems, you solve historical problems, you also lay a foundation to predict the future and solve the problems. That is why for the manpower that you need now, you train people. But why do we put kindergarten? Why do we put them in school? Why do we put 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds in school? Because we are trying to produce the doctors of tomorrow, the journalists of tomorrow. So these are the roles of government. And the essence of my running for office is I've seen the resources that the country has. I've seen the opportunity the country has. I've seen that we have everything, but we don't have a leadership that can direct. And now the election has been lost and won. It is the duty of the persons who are now to direct the government to pick up those priorities, especially given that in this country it's much easier for you to find your way, because we are one of the few countries, I think India is also one of them, that has this fundamental objective and directive principle of state policy. So that when you come into government, you don't have to scratch your head and start afresh and say, where do I start now? How we're going to govern, how the government should be, what priorities should be, the principle around which you govern, all of them have been agreed, and they're in the Constitution, Chapter 2.
Okay.
So all you need to do is to create, the politics I look forward to is a politics in which that becomes the national consensus. And that when people are making choices of who to become president, governor, they are making it in the security that any of these people that you elect will still go and implement.
Now, what I was asking you, and I'm still asking you, is that you had all these lofty dreams for the country,
yes.
But the fact that you did not clinch the ticket, or you didn't go to the throne, as it were, to be the president and do all this, means that those dreams are still somewhere. How are you going to share these dreams with the incoming president or so? Or how do you intend, for how long do you intend to wait? Are you coming back the next time to talk about this, or to do what you intend to do now, or it is over?
No, it's not over. I made a promise when I became 50 years old last year that I will spend the rest of my life serving the country. So I've spent 50 years growing up and taking care of myself, so I'm fine. So I will spend the rest of my life serving the country. But serving the country is not always that you must serve the government. What I'm doing now is public service. I believe so. And we have said enough, not only me, other people. We've said enough for those who won the election, if they want to do well, the first, of course, they have to implement their own program because they believe in their own program. But I believe that their own program will not be enough. So they have enough from what we have said, all the debates we've had, all the interviews, to go and pick up some ideas that they may find useful. But I believe that it is assumed that the Nigerian people also had everybody. It may not be the case, but I assume that the Nigerian people had everybody, and they have made a preference that those people are the one they want to listen to, they want to implement their own. But what we have brought on board allows us to continue to continuously interrogate what they are doing and compare to what we will have been doing, and to continue to give Nigerian people the differential. To say, you see, they've made 13% investment in education, whereas they're supposed to make 27% investment in education. We had promised that we're going to make even more than that. So you can see the difference in your choice now and what ought to be. And
okay.
In the areas where they are doing well, to say so, but I want people to understand that I will continue to be in politics. I will continue to pursue that dream. But two things are there. One, there is no compulsion that if you want to serve Nigeria, you must join every administration. There are some administrations you will not join, either because you don't understand where they are going or because you can't work with the people who are there. Then secondly, the fact that you are not in government does not stop you from reminding the people of options. And if the people who are in government do something that is good, if people misunderstand them, you can actually recommend and say, that measure is a good measure. People should cooperate with it. Okay. But the people in government don't own Nigeria. They have a 4-year tenure to go and serve in specific offices. The country still belongs to all of us. So that is, the money they are spending will be public money. The buildings that they use for their residences and offices, public property. The time that they spend is public time. So, and all the resources that they are managing on our behalf belong to all of us. So there is no stake that the president-elect has over me in Nigeria, except that he's been given a legal authority to exercise that office. Okay. So you give him the difference when he immediately makes his decision, we're automatically entitled to say, it's a good decision, it's not a good decision, it's not good enough, and things like that. It's our country.
Okay, let's go back to the election and some other specifics. You said in your interview that I was privileged to see that you are the most aggrieved of the contestants, and you also said that you also sort of pass the blame to the electorate of the choice that they have made. Whether that is in contention or that is debatable is inconsequential. But let's start with the fact that you said you are the most aggrieved. In what ways would you say that?
You could see that a lot of people, some of the candidates started complaining only when they saw the results, and the results wasn't going their way. Some started complaining when they got to the election point, the polling units, and they're getting feedback. I started complaining much earlier. If you go review my interview, I've been complaining that many of these candidates were not keeping to the law. They were not keeping to the spending limits. And if you look at them, you will see that politics was too expensive. They were spending obscene amounts of money. And I've had journalists ask me, if you have to, won't you spend? So I assume that those journalists don't know me, because if they know me, they won't ask that kind of question. They will know that if I want to spend, I have to. It's just that you must be lawful. Second, you will see that many of them were not allowing, especially those who are in government, they were not allowing other people to campaign quite well. Many of the governors were misbehaving. Those in government were misbehaving. You will also see that many of them were campaigning in the wrong places, in religious centers, which is against the law, and things like that. So you also see that they started, even on election, they started enticing voters with material things. Some were giving money out. So this kind of behavior, I've been complaining for a long time. And so I feel aggrieved that we went into a race and people were not keeping to the terms of the race. Because if you follow what INEC specifies in the book, you will see that it will be a more even race. I complain about the media coverage as to the fact that media over-commercialize the issue. And it cannot be the case that if you spend more money, you should have more access to the people. That is not how it's done. For adverts, yes. If somebody wants to place 100 jingles, no problem. That should be commercialized. But if you want to give access to people to present their message, to answer questions, to do debates, you should give equal access to everyone. So these are all the accumulated grievances that I've had. And in this, so it is only when the final blow was not delivered in the conduct of the election that you will start to complain. I've been complaining over time, and many of those complaints have not been addressed. And when you put them all together, you will see that I find it difficult to align with anyone with respect to cherry picking what you want to complain about. Whereas I can cite and say, you yourself were not in compliance with many critical aspects of the electioneering. Even on the election day, you were not in compliance with many things. And why I need to refrain from over-litigating the issue is that people have gone to court. And if you pay keen attention, especially when you see the pleadings, when you pay keen attention, you will see that these things that I'm talking about in general terms, the evidence of it will come in the trial. So Nigerians, those who might be irritated by how I'm approaching the issue, when they see the petition, the cross-petition, the evidence and the counter-evidence, and they will see that it's a mess all around. And they will.
Is it one of the reasons that made you not to go to court? Because some people, including myself, I'm expecting that if you are aggrieved, you will address it in the legal way, except you just want to give up for peace to reign. Because you did say that in some polling units, even your own votes that glaringly were given to you were not recorded.
Yes.
They gave you maybe 19, where you should have had 90-something and all that. So are you just giving up because you want peace to reign, or you don't think that should even be an option at all?
You see, okay, people need to understand that, first, I'm a lawyer. So because I'm a lawyer, if something like that happened to somebody else, typically I'm the one that will come for advice, who will say, well, I know what happened to you, but this is how the court looks at it. So that's one. Second is that, and you will see over time, when you see when the court start to rule on it, you will understand the wisdom of what I'm saying now. Second, you will also know that I've not given up. Giving up means that I just buy a ticket and fly to New York. And you ask me what happened, I say I don't want to talk about it. That's giving up. Raising it in the consciousness of people, talking about it, emphasizing it, and addressing it from the systemic way it is. When you are going to court, you are having a specific prayer from the court. And the prayers you can pray to the court are limited. You can ask the court to cancel the election. You can ask the court to declare you the winner. Now, I've tabulated that even if all my legitimate votes were given to me, I don't have enough to tell the court to declare me the winner. So, because that's the first thing I did.
But they could declare some of the people
this is how the court works.
Party.
No, this is how the court works. My party, for example, we won 2 Senate seats. So it's likely that somebody will go and challenge us on those Senate seats, but nobody has complained so far. We won 5. In one state, we won 5 out of the 6 House of Reps. We still have governorships that I believe we will win quite a number of them. So the notion that I can go to court and say the court should declare me a winner in places where I didn't win. I can complain that where I won, my votes were not duly recorded.
Yeah.
But I cannot make a claim that if you restore all my votes, because the court will say, okay, I've had you. If I restore all the vote they took from you, after 3 months, 6 months of trial, you still didn't win the election. So that angle of saying declare me the winner is out. But there may be other people, other contestants, who, when they put their own votes together, they will say, the court can declare them the winner. Then I'm not going to comment on their own opportunities. They can do that. So maybe where you took 2,000 votes from me, you took 20,000 from them or 200,000. They have a better chance of going to complain, of going to get it realized. Second thing is that when I put all together, the cheating is not by one person. So, and in law, I can say the election is marked by irregularities. But the law is that if it's marked by irregularity must be such that if you remove all the irregularities, the person who won will still not win.
No.
So I'm not letting.
I'm trying to.
I'm looking at it from the no. I want to explain to you because you are looking at it from a legal point of view, and I'm saying that if you have a wrong done to you in a society, there are some of the wrongs you can go and right in the court, and there are some of the wrongs you can right by advocacy. And for me, I have looked at my own case. I'm not going to comment on another person's case. And they haven't sought my opinion on their matter. Two things I decided to do. One is that anything that will be a breach of the peace, demonstration, whatever, I'm out of it. Why? Not because I don't have a right to protest, but because I was running for president. And I went to a gentleman's agreement that if I was cheated or anything went wrong, I was not going to breach the peace. I was going to take legal course. So that issue of me leading a demonstration is out of it for me. Second, if I am going to pursue things that are wrong in the election, I have people who I have grievances against that are not even candidates at all. I'll give an example that inside our party, we are doing reviews. So I've seen cases in our party where certain officials of our party took our party agent's tag and went and gave it to the opposite party. The court cannot help you in that situation. Maybe the party can discipline them, expel them from the party, or sanction them. So, for example, I'm sure you have reporters, and they do reporting for you, or maybe they've reported to you already. You will see cases where people were selling their votes. Those people selling their votes, I cannot take them to court. I'm not the police. And I cannot sue them in the election petition and say this person sold his vote. Therefore, no. So what I can do is to say, okay, I've been exposed to how we conducted this election. And if I am invited, as I'm invited by you, to come and explain, I owe a duty to you to explain in detail what happened. And also to make recommendations of what we need to do. If, for example, INEC invites me, then I can assist INEC with detail of how they need to reform their system. Okay. You remember that in 2007, when Yar'Adua was elected, there was a hue and cry, even louder than this, regarding that election. And some people went to court. General Buhari went to court. I think Alhaji Abubakar Atiku went to court as well. But what Yar'Adua did was to come by way of advocacy, notwithstanding that the cases were in court. He said this election was marred by it was not a perfect one. I don't want to misquote him, and that he would do something about it. And they set up the Ways panel. So many of the things that went wrong at that time were the things the Ways panel looked into, and they were the things we included in our Electoral Act. Now, I suspect that the president-elect now, if he's well advised, and if he wants to lead with credibility and honesty, would have to toe that line and say, I think something is wrong with this election. But if he, for example, pretends to himself that nothing is wrong with the election, and his election is perfect, is the best we have done so far, then he will have failed in leadership.
Okay,
But for me,
let's just take a short break,
okay,
because there's a lot to talk about in this very issue, for clarity anyway. Not
yes.
Yeah. We'll just take a short break and we'll be back in a moment. Don't go away.
Since the beginning of this campaign, Jando and Funke have rigorously traversed all wards in Lagos State, from Ikorodu to Badagry, Ekpe to Alimosho, seeking to know the true state of our state and where the shoe really pinches. They visited the riverine communities and places that have never been visited before by any governorship candidate in the history of Lagos politics. Funke's market storm is also the first of its kind by a deputy governorship candidate. Lagos. There's so much work to do. It is time to give the man who knows Lagos and can birth a breath of fresh air the chance to lead. Vote Dr. Abdulaziz Olajide Adediran Jando as Governor of Lagos State. PDP! Power to the people!
You're welcome back. It's still Plus Politics, and my name is Nyamgul Agaji. We're here with the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, Adewole Adebayo, who he lost, yes, but he is going through other ways to make sure that the process is better tomorrow, right? Okay, before we went on break, I asked you about what you're going to do if you're still having that dream and how you intend to pursue it. And you said something about the fact that even if all your votes are added, you will still not win the elections, so there's no point. Now, I was asking for clarity because sometimes they say posterity should know the exact thing that happened. For instance, if someone accuses you falsely and you go to court and they say that you are supposed to pay a fine of, go to prison or pay a fine of 10 naira, and somebody says, I'm going to contest that and see it to the end, the reason they will give you is that if I pay it, I'm still an ex-convict, no matter that the 10 naira is small. So the exact thing should be known, no matter how small it is. Now, how would posterity see the election that that was conducted, that you were a part of, if the votes that were supposed to come to you, whether they are just 1,000 or they are 100,000, if they are not recorded against your name? Don't you see that as an injustice done to you? Because we need to know in 2023, when he contested in an election, this is how much he had. If you're going down in the next election, let's know by how many votes. If you're going up, let's know by how many votes. So don't you think it is a problem to just leave it go?
No, you're not leaving it. If I was leaving it, I won't talk about it. All I'm letting you know is that I'm a lawyer. I know legal process. So when you are going to court in an election matter, and I'm trying to run away from talking about election matter so that people will not assume that I'm signaling other people's cases. What I'm letting you know is that I know that what went wrong went beyond what a court can look into. Because there are grounds. If you're filing a little bit, it's a very technical, lawyer call it sui generis. It's a very technical process, very technical procedure. So even if you go to court, you will see that if people have read previous judgments. For example, let me give an example. That's how I was talking about Yaradua. If you read the Waste Panel report, and you compare it
Which was not implemented, though.
Partly, it was the duty of Goodluck Jonathan to implement them. It was his duty, but he probably didn't want to implement them fully. But a lot of the recommendations are included in the Electoral Act that we have now. But what I want you to understand is that if you look at that Waste report on the election and compare it with the judgments in Buhari versus Yaradua and Atiku versus Yaradua, it doesn't look like they're the same elections. Because in a litigation mode, people deny everything. The people object to every evidence. But in advocacy, people don't. So when you come before Ways panel, when you come before, you actually bringing out, because now there's no sanction. So you are bringing out what happened. So if, for example, you want to do a research on vote buying, if you are doing inside court, everybody will say, I never bought vote. It's not me. It's not me at all, because they are trying to run away from sanction. But when you bring it out in terms of trying to correct the process, people will be more open.
So that's what you intend to do?
Yeah, exactly. Because like INEC, after I addressed INEC, you will see that INEC came out and said that the election they did had a lot of faults. But I can guarantee you that when INEC goes to court now, INEC lawyer will not say that. INEC lawyer will say, go and prove this and that. Because the nature of litigation, I worked as Truth and Reconciliation Commissioner in Liberia after the war. I have seen how, let me give you an example. Look at how South Africa did the Truth and Reconciliation. Look at our Puta panel. In South Africa, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission was done in such a way that there was no sanction involved. But they wanted to get to the truth of it. So many people in South Africa who had killed people that were not even charged to court, people didn't discover. They came out voluntarily and said, there was a particular person that died, so and so. I killed the person, and I want to come and make atonement. They were volunteering to come out. Everybody who did something came out because the atmosphere was they wanted to know the truth of what happened. But when we did our Puta panel, people were coming with lawyers, denying obvious evidence, because with the spirit of trying to know what happened, rather than trying to blame somebody. So that is, I feel that those who are complaining now, those who are making noise now, they will go to court. Cases will be won and lost. But I want to find out, why is it that in this country, with everything we have gone through, there are still people who will not vote unless you pay them to vote? I went to Kwara State after the election, after my election. I went to Kwara State to campaign for my governorship candidate. But I met with my party people. And I was asking that question, why do you belong to a political party? And you want to represent that party? And you don't want to be loyal to that party? What is the reason? Why do you join it at all? You get the point I'm making? So there are these conversations we need to make. I was talking to some of my fellow presidential candidates today. I asked some of them, are you going to court? Some said they're not going to court. Some said they're quitting politics. Some said they will wait. But this conversation will go on. So you won't hear the last of it. If somebody goes to court, because of the nature of their pleadings, because of what they're asking for, if the court throws away their case, for me, it's still not the end of the discussion. Because we'll write books on it, we'll document it, we will do seminar on it, we'll find out what went wrong. And historians, analysts, everybody will come out. If you go back to 1979 election, it ended up in the Supreme Court or the definition of 12 to 3rd. It's on a very narrow technical, but what happened in the entire election was not discussed. So I'm looking at it, if I wasn't a lawyer, I would probably run to a lawyer, and that lawyer might tell me, yeah, you have a good case, let's go.
Okay.
But because I'm a lawyer, I understand the legal conundrum that is there. I thought to myself, one of the things I can contribute is to, if I'm asked, to actually tell you what I experienced and tell you all those things that are wrong with our electioneering, and to give us a clarion call that every election we will encounter it. Because I saw it in Ekiti, I saw it in Osun, and I was raising alarm in Ekiti. If you go back to my previous statement in Ekiti, you will see that this is Ekiti, writ large.
We will try to follow you as you do your advocacy and see what you're doing and see what we can contribute as well, because we want a process in this country that will be transparent enough, because that is everything, if it is transparent and it's good enough. But we just got information that the prayers of Labour Party, for instance, that the bimodal voter race, the BVAS, should not be tampered with, should not be reconfigured until all the evidences therein are removed. has been thrown away, and INEC has been given leave to go and reconfigure this. Don't you see this as obstruction of
no,
evidence?
you see, I see.
Let's be as brief as possible.
You know,
I have
there is
other
a lot
questions.
of misunderstanding. You know, there's too much speculation.
Yeah.
And media too, I don't know why I keep saying media, but media too doesn't have technical people to explain things to them. The controversy was meaningless. Whether you reconfigure it, it will not remove the data that was there before. So I don't know, political parties were trained on how the beavers should work. They were introduced to it. But I don't want to insert myself into it. It's not an issue, it's not a problem. In the sense that configuring the beavers for the next election it's just like you go on a computer, you type a letter. You type a letter and post the letter. And then you want to type another and open another page. You get my point? So unless INEC deliberately wants to throw away the evidence, but in reality, you can do one election, do another one without. I think when the court made that order, the court made the order on the assumption that reconfiguring it
will
wipe out the data. But I don't think so, unless they want to deliberately do so.
Okay, before the presidential election, there was this talk that SDP is an appendage of APC. And then people started saying, which you roundly refuted anyway, that you had given up your seat for the APC. You had given up your aspirations for the APC candidate. You denied that. You said it wasn't true. And even the Labour Party also, I think, came up with that. But now, after saying that and making everybody believe that, okay, you are not an appendage of any other party, we just got information also that the deputy governorship candidate in Lagos State said she has assessed all the candidates that are standing for election, and she has chosen to follow the candidate of the APC. She is a deputy candidate, deputy governorship candidate, and now she's cross-carpeting and endorsing another one. What's your reaction to that act?
My reaction is to first find out that it is true, because I've been a victim of all this unfounded information, personally. So you could see that I was going through quite well on my own. The first people to start sending insinuation were the APC. You know, maybe they were threatened by what we were doing, so they started passing rumor about discouraging people. So then PDP also picked it up. They started doing it. I reacted to that. Then, most disappointingly of all, Labour. They waited and timed their own on the eve of the election. And I said that we have stepped down for them. So I think these are some of the grievances that I have. And these are some of the grievances that you find in Nigerian politics. If you study the politics of other countries, if you are in your party, they just leave you alone. For example, when we were running for president, there were people from Labour Party in Kano, in the Northeast, who said they wanted to come and declare. I'm not interested. If you want to leave your party and come and join a party, go to your ward and join a party. I don't believe in a system of trying to damage other people's brand. Well, I didn't. After some time, they went and did it with the APC. That's their business. I'm not interested. So I believe that we should try to do ideological politics here, politics of principle. But as for the person that you refer to, as long as we as a political party, we have not been told. The person hasn't resigned from our party. Remember what happened to NNPP in Kano, where Shekarau was said to have left
the party
and crossed to. You could see that eventually INEC announced Shekarau as a winner of a senatorial seat under NNPP. So these rules are there. So I don't want to get into speculation, because it may turn out that, for example, unless you call her into your studio or some studio and she's interviewed and she says it's true. Otherwise, people were on the Friday on the eve of the election, I was at an airport in Abuja going to Ondo to go and vote. I saw people who are obedient, hugging me. Oh, thank you for stepping down for us. I said, please, why are you hugging me? I will step down for you. So okay. If you have fallen, if you have.
Okay, let's try to.
So if you are fallen victim of that, you want to be sure that you hear from the horse's mouth.
Okay, let's try to wrap it up now. We have like a minute.
Yes.
What's the future of SDP? Are you considering measures? Are you standing alone? Are you?
The future of SDP is not as important as the future of Nigeria. As long as Nigeria has this kind of problem that it has now, you will always need an SDP. You always need a party that wants to deal with the issue of poverty and insecurity. But let's say the government that has just been elected now deals with insecurity decisively, then it's no longer an issue. That's why you don't find us saying we want to get independence for Nigeria. Because before we came, some party had done it. That's why you don't see us, when we first came, it was how to get rid of military rule. Now we don't have military rule anymore. So if the government that you elect solves these problems that we are concerned about, there may be a time where you won't have SDP. If, for example, poverty is eradicated completely, insecurity is gone, you may see that the other party will change what it wants to do. But it's not about the future of the party. It's more about the future of the country. And I pray and hope that the government that has just been elected now will solve these problems that SDP is supposed to solve. But if they don't solve it, and they will rigmarole for another 4 years, we will be back to try to solve that problem.
Okay, keep us in the know as you go about using the public forum, as you call it, to expose the things that you have seen, things that will be lessons to be learned by INEC, by the citizens, by the politicians themselves and all that. So, but for now, we'd like to thank you for being a part of our program today, and we're hoping that this contact will continue.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, and I wish Nigeria well. God bless Nigeria.
Yeah. So we've been talking with the presidential candidate for SDP. I remember SDP was the first party I voted for anyway, in 1993.
Yes. I won't ask you why you voted last week or 2 weeks ago.
No. Yes. That's a different story entirely. But we've been talking with the presidential candidate Adewale Adebayo of the SDP, and we've been talking about how the election was and the way forward for Nigeria. We do hope that we'll get to that point where every politician's the interest that we'll be thinking about is the interest of Nigeria. So when they say there are different interests, it should be different interests that could lead to the goal of Nigeria becoming something of an El Dorado that we've always thought about. Thank you so much for being a part of this show.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Let's do it again tomorrow. My name is Nyamgul Agaji.
For upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Since the beginning of this campaign, Jando and Funke have rigorously traversed all wards in Lagos State, from Ikorodu to Badagry, Ekpe to Alimosho, seeking to know the true state of our state and where the shoe really pinches. They visited the riverine communities and places that have never been visited before by any governorship candidate in the history of Lagos politics. Funke's market storm is also the first of its kind by a deputy governorship candidate. Lagos. There's so much work to do. It is time to give the man who knows Lagos and can birth a breath of fresh air the chance to lead. Vote Dr. Abdulaziz Olajide Adediran Jando as Governor of Lagos State. PDP! Power to the people!
My name is Princess Oluyemisi Abiodun Ohumagbulem ni Akinyode. Permit me to join others on this platform to share my good old day stories. I was born and raised in Lagos State, but my parents, HRH Obadiah Akinyode, Olu of Oluke Land, and late Florence Omolara Akinyode, Iya Yomi Special, are from Egba, Egbado, Gbagura of Abeokuta, Ogun State. My father was a technician who later became an engineer at the Nigerian Railways Corporation. My mother was a Renaissance woman. What do I mean by that? She was a teacher who owned a general stores, taught private lessons, and constantly went back to school to further her education. What she was studying, I don't know. And still, she found time to always whip some sense into us, as we urged when growing up. I was brought up in a Christian household, centered around assurance, love, dignity, and discipline. My parents also really loved people and music, with Ebenezer Obey, Dele Adawa Super, Sonny Ade, and Idowu Animashaun playing in our house, often playing while they danced together on weekend in our parlor. Our house was always filled with visitors, joy, and love. My childhood was fun. I remember how we used to enter the LSDPC bus to get home from school. The buses were always on time, sticking to their set schedule, neat, safe, secured, organized, and very cheap, costing only 3 kobo to ride. For most of my adolescent and teen years, I attended boarding school. I went to Government College Kisu in Ekpe Division, Lagos State. It was a government school, but was surprisingly affluent, with a wealth of textbooks and a flood of ajabotas, kids fresh from England. It was in this school that I learned most of the lessons that will guide me through life. I learned personal responsibility, how to be independent, how to always write your name on everything you own. It was a wonderful and trying times for me. My pocket money for a whole time that time was 2 naira, and it was more than enough for my needs. Besides, I would still leave home with provisions. Then small needle was 9 kobo. A dozen of Okin biscuit was 1 naira, and a Bonvita was 1 naira, 10 kobo. Those were good times. In that school, there were a healthy mix of people, cultures, and religion. We had Muslims, we had Christians, Hindus, Indians, and Uganda students at the school, all working and playing together. It was truly, truly beautiful. We took pride in our academics and felt safe. Those were our formative years. One memorable event that will remain indelible in my mind was when my dad, an engineer with Nigerian Railways Corporation, took the whole family on an excursion to Kainji Dam. We were excited to board the first-class coach on the Nigerian train. We had a triple bunk in our rooms and a dining area attached to our coach. We enjoyed the sightseeing, stopping along to get regional snacks and learning about Nigeria. We went through Ibadan, Oyo, Jeba, Ilorin with my mother. Blessed memory, she's dead now. She was teaching us about each region as we passed them. It was an eye-opener for me. It was an adventure that my siblings and I will never forget. It was one train ride that I learned how vast, beautiful, dynamic, and colorful Nigeria truly was. My God, Nigeria is truly blessed. We are blessed. I witnessed my oldest brother going to university in America, which my middle-class father, he was a middle-class income, was able to fund. The exchange rate at that time was 75 kobo to a single dollar. Back then, in the late 70s, it was indeed Nigerian golden age. Life was really good. Nigeria of today is in dire need of these good old days. The value that we were taught, integrity we imbibed, the dignity of labor ingrained in our subconscious mind, the uprightness we learned was a virtue, the diligence they etched in our conduct, the honesty and admonitions, the positive experience that we had, the wholesome memories that we share should not stay only in our generation. We need to bring back those highly cherished values, the lessons and the Nigeria of yesterday into the present so that the current and future generation can experience their own good old days. It's not too late to change the narrative. Where there's a will, there will always be a way. Our children, my children, our children deserve a brighter and better future, not reminiscence of the good old days. I therefore join Sashe More Badejo in this collective drive towards greater tomorrow. Thank you.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 0005719 or 0909 040 8408, or send an email to marketing@PlusTvAfrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
Hello and welcome to What Are You Saying? #Ways, where we talk about topics in the news as it affects us all. I am Osayo Amesale, and today I have the ladies with me, Chinelo and Glory. Hello, potatoes.
Hello.
How are you ladies doing? How are you feeling yourself today? That's our Women's Day.
I'm so proud to be
a woman, right?
Yeah.
Glory, how about you?
I'm so happy to be home. So I've been getting loads of messages today, but I feel like it will go a long way after all the messages, maybe a vacation or something, just icing on the cake. I mean, like...
You can never pass an opportunity to include money inside the calculation. Madam Accountant. But it would be nice actually to just, have someone spoil you. Just go on like a weekend, It makes sense. Nama has joined us via Zoom. Hello, Nama Ifeanyi.
Hey ladies, how are you all doing?
Very well. How are you doing? Happy International Women's Day. How is the UK today?
It's very cold. We're trying to manage the weather as much as possible. But we're women, we can do all things. So we're here.
Right, we can do all things through Christ that strengthens us.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, so today, as you already know, is International Women's Day, and we want to just discuss things around, women. And here's what we found as today's quote. Both men and women should feel free to be sensitive. Both men and women should feel free to be strong. It is time that we all perceive gender on a spectrum, not as two opposing sets of ideas. I mean, this is very important. Sometimes people think we're in competition. Sometimes people think that, there's really, everybody's just unique. It's just for us to understand and appreciate everybody's unique capacity and capabilities, right? All right, so as I had mentioned earlier, it's International Women's Day. And in the spirit of celebrating women, we will be discussing gender equity for Nigerian women in leadership and business. And we have with us Maria Chike Benjamin to join the conversation much later. But first, let's quickly go on a break. When we come back from the break, we'll see what we found in the news.
we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them. If you no talk, then go beat you. Now 2,500 they pay.
Thanks for staying with us. Now, March 8th, which is today, is International Women's Day, an annual event that celebrates and recognizes the achievements of women. This year, the theme is Embrace Equity. I mean, we have a lot more to talk about International Women's Day much later in the conversation, but honestly speaking, every time I hear International Women's Day, I just feel like a lot of men would be wondering, now only one day, there's day for the girl child, there's International Women's Day, then there's the Mother's Day, I think 2 times, I mean 3 times, you know. There's just so many things around women, but in all fairness, right, women are special. The kind of responsibilities, the kinds of, things that we get to shoulder as women, it's a lot. You know, sometimes I am actually marveled at the kind of peace in the midst of a lot of storm that I'm able to stomach, right? I mean, if some men were to face the kind of, you know, heat that we face, you know, you can't survive it. So I saw a skit, a cartoon on social media just before we came on the show. So the lady was going through serious menstrual cramp, for instance, and the guy just said, "Come on, get over it." The next thing, they didn't say anything. They just showed her eyes. The next thing, she was in front of a jury that was saying, "Why did you murder him?" Because she had murdered the guy. Because, you know, sometimes you just really cannot explain the kind of pain you go through. I mean, we go through a lot of things. And I think every day women should be celebrated. Because truly, right, we are actually special. We're a different breed. And I wish everybody understands this and just, you know, just embrace your unique self, you know, and don't be in competition with anybody. I think that's where a lot of men fight. You know, they say, "Why do you want to say?" So that's why they changed the slogan from equality to equity, because equity is much more, you know, broader. You know, it helps to break that barrier of the limiting thoughts of, okay, equality and all of that. So equity is just much better. But hey, we'll talk more on that. But let me come to you, Norma. What did you find for us in the news?
In the spirit of International Women's Day, so Google gets to celebrate this year Women's Day with the doodle of women supporting women. And I'm particularly really excited about this because it is one way to show that with one woman you can do a lot, with 2 or more you can do even so much more. So showing the global tech company celebrated this year, and it showed how women are supporting women across all endeavors of life. You know, talking about cultural, we're talking about political space, we're talking about socio-economic space. You find a lot of women coming in. And this year's theme was Digital, and it has to do with innovation and technology for gender equality. So I think it's a really, really important aspect to look into, where women get to support other women, and women can show up with their strength in diverse areas of life, and also be able to enjoy equitable work environment that enables them to thrive, of course, with other women supporting their endeavor. So I was really excited when I saw this, and I said, oh, kudos to Google celebrating women today in that space.
All right. Well, we're struggling to hear your sound, but let me come to you, Glory. What did you find for us in the news?
Okay, what's in the news is just a celebration of milestone by the U.S. female soccer team. So it reads that more than a year after U.S. soccer and the United States women's national team brokered a landmark equal pay agreement, star player and two-time World Cup champion Megan Rapinoe is still coming to terms with the implication of what her team has achieved. So this is basically about them. They had this issue of equal pay, so they played more, had more tournaments, they made more money, but actually were earning lesser than their male colleagues. So they filed a lawsuit around 2019 requesting for equal pay, and I think sometime last year they won the suit, and so they are now getting what they feel they truly deserve. So one of the remarkable things that caught my attention from what she said was, she said there was a relentless and refusal to accept anything other than what we felt like we deserve. So it's like what you do and what you feel you deserve. That's, I think, the basis of what we're talking about, equity.
Absolutely. You know that when they celebrated that win, I was really happy for them, because again, that's one soccer team that has really done well. Yeah. So why don't you just, the guys that are going and coming, they're not even bringing the wins home, but this team, they really did well. Yeah. And I'm happy she actually stood her ground to fight for her team, and you know, eventually it paid off. How about you, Chinelo?
Okay, so most wanted Nigerian woman extradited to Italy. A 48-year-old Nigerian woman, Jeff Joy, who was one of the few women on Italy's 100 most wanted criminal list, has been extradited to Italy. Joy had been on the list of the 100 most dangerous fugitives since 2010, and she had the leading role in the illegal transporting of Nigerian girls to Italy, the Netherlands, and Spain, so they could be initiated into prostitution. And according to reports, she would usually use threats and then violence to actually threaten these girls when they eventually travel. And I saw this and it actually caught my attention because also we're celebrating International Women's Day today. And situations like this have made women to be seen in a certain light. And it's quite sad to see that human trafficking is still something that is making waves as much as it is right now, despite all of the awareness and all of the caution that has been thrown. But then I'm happy that this woman has finally been caught, and I pray that all the other people actually that wanted as well are also.
This thing is a very, very strong syndicate.
It is.
It's not something that you can just
go into.
I mean, did you watch that movie Oloture, the one that had a bit of controversy around, you know, the release and all of that? If you had watched the documentary from the lady that went under the guise of being a prostitute, you would know that these things are real. And the thing about trafficking or maybe drugs or whatever, it's actually a very, very powerful, strong cartel. You know, I'm hoping that she might truly be the link, you know, to the real, because there are also people that are behind her. Right?
Strong people.
Very strong people that you will not even imagine that these people, you know, so you really cannot tell that this is the kingpin that you have captured in things like this. So I'm hoping that whatever information they'll be able to milk out of her would you know, then help to really, you know, rally around all those people and, you know, just arrest all of them. You know, my father, one of the reasons he moved to the north, right? We are from Edo State, Benin, as you know. One of the reasons my father moved and lived, you know, so before we even came to this world, he had already said as a young boy, he was not going to live in Benin because it was something that was very, very prevalent. And it's not something, so in every family you must hear that, oh, one Peking day Italo, you know, and all of that. So my father didn't understand that concept of why would I take my children and sell them out to go and make money and all of that. So for him, he wanted to raise us in a much more saner environment, and that was why he chose Kaduna State. And you know, so all our lives, all of us, my oldest sister, our firstborn, turned 50 late last year. She's a day after my birthday, November 5th, right? And all of us were all born in the north, right? So I mean, just to tell you, this thing is not a today thing. Yeah. So the amount of work that needs to be done, you know, to really curb it, because now what is even much more painful is that people, you know, then you didn't have a choice. So if a man has 5 children, they will just come cajole the man and he will release maybe 2 of his daughters. Now it is the people that go and meet them that, please, I want to go, and because they feel like this lifestyle is attractive. Yeah. So it's a lot. All right, so I have to bring you back to what is happening to our reality in Nigeria. Tribunal. Tribunal rejects INEC request to vary orders in Atiku and Obi's favor. Now, according to the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal on Wednesday had rejected the application by the independent National Electoral Commission to vary the orders it earlier granted to People's Democratic Party's candidate and the Labour Party's candidate, that's Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi, respectively, to inspect election materials used during the presidential poll. So, I don't even know how this will pan out, right? The court issued this restraining order in the ruling to what was given before, the permission that was granted, to them, right after the conduct of the February 25th election. They had gone to court and they had given them, a go ahead to be able to access this materials, but all of a sudden now they're saying no. So both Obi and Atiku, of course, they challenged the outcome of the elections. So I don't even know how this is going to play out. You know what is worrisome for me? What is worrisome for me is, I was telling someone today, I'm praying that Lagos State does not become violent, because people have already seen that clearly, it seems, because this is not like we know the facts. And that's why I was saying to INEC that you would have just helped us and just done the right thing. You know why? Because if you had done the right thing and whoever won the election, everybody was going to accept it because they saw that the process was duly followed. But now, you didn't follow due process. And now, so what is happening now? The March 11 for the people that will come out, it's going to be you either upload or you die here. That's what people will do. They won't. So it's just going to be a back and forth that wasn't necessary, because there's so much distrust in the system. And look at what is happening now. Why don't you give them access to? Let them go and check it out. If you are sure of your claims, if you are sure that you conducted an election that was free, fair, and credible. Right? So I don't know. These are the things that just gets me tired in this.
I read a report which says that it's as a result of the upcoming gubernatorial election. So I don't really know. So maybe they'll give them access after the elections are over, saying it's going to interrupt INEC's processes.
Let's see how it goes. But you see, the thing is, there's a lot of back and forth that is just really tiring for me.
And unnecessary.
Very unnecessary. Because you see, what you have done is you have made distrust so heavy in the hearts of the people that voted. Why don't you, first of all, allay their doubts and all of those things, and just let's just even see some sense of transparency. That's all we're asking for. We're not asking for too much. Let us just see some sense of transparency, then we're good. But hey, I think it's too much to ask. Let's focus on our days, Women's Day. So when we come back from the break, we will discuss issues around women in leadership and business, right? And we'll also have our guests join us. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
guys, you're welcome to another edition of Plus Event, and I remain your host, Ifeoluwa Oshukeye.
Your absence isn't an excuse anymore, as Plus Events is all you need, as we bring you the glitz, the glamour, and loads of fun.
Oh, definitely, no question. He's a living legend.
Oh, God forbid, Holy Ghost fire, I know.
I just want to be blown away. I want to be wild. This is 11 years of doing it.
I'm surrounded by so much positivity.
No, it's okay.
Yo, what's up, my people? It's your boy Starboy Terry. You're watching
Plus Event on Plus TV.
Stay glued to Plus TV Africa every Saturday and Sunday, 4:30 p.m. West African time.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. From the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
Thanks for staying with us now. Gender equity, according to the European Institute of Gender Equality, is the provision of fairness and justice in the distribution of benefits and responsibilities between women and men. The concept recognizes that women and men have different needs and power, and that these differences should be identified and addressed in a manner that rectifies the imbalances between the sexes. Now, this may include equal treatment or treatment that is different but considered equivalent in terms of rights, benefits, obligations, and opportunities. Now, though often used interchangeably, equality and equity are two very distinct concepts. The term gender equity has sometimes been used in a way that perpetuates stereotypes about women's role in society, suggesting that women should be treated fairly in accordance with the roles that they carry out. Now, these understanding risk perpetuating unequal gender relations and solidifying gender stereotypes that are detrimental to women. Therefore, the term should be used with caution to ensure it is not masking a reluctance to speak more openly about discrimination and inequality. So what are your thoughts on gender equity, and how can we begin to create an enabling environment for Nigerian women in leadership and business? Now, please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-8038-4663. You can also tweet at us at WayShowAfrica1 with the hashtag WayShow. So I'll bring in Maria in a second or two, but I just want to hear your quick thoughts on how you think we can begin to really embrace equity, amongst gender.
Okay, so first I would like to say I love the fact that you already mentioned that there's a very big difference between equality and equity, right? And I'm going to use a quick illustration as an example. So you're trying to get someone to get mangoes from the top of a tree, and you give everybody ladders, and you give them the same type of ladders. Now that's equality, right? Now equity is, okay, you're saying, it's way taller than Chinelo is, so we'll definitely not need, her ladder doesn't have to be as tall as Chinelo's ladder. Now that's equity. So it's just providing for each person resources according to their unique capabilities. So that's why we've always had that problem of stereotypes and people saying, you people are shouting equality, equality, equality. I mean, I'm glad that now we've realized that it's not equality, it's actually equity. And yeah, for that sake, I'm embracing equity.
Okay, keep on embracing. How about you, Glory?
I think we have to get to that point where everyone has to accept the fact that women are actually also innovative, and we are also resilient, and we can actually contribute a lot to society's growth. I'll give an example. My organization, the organization I work with, is partly owned by a woman. It's been a bittersweet experience per se. So some of the contracts we've gotten comes from a side of curiosity. So people are curious. They want to know, an organization, can she deliver? So most times when we are invited for a pitch, it's not because, oh, we've seen an amazing organization. They just, okay, a woman-owned organization, so let's see what they have to say, or maybe just a pretty face, you know. So when we actually go there and we show what we got and we actually deliver, they now take it back and be like, okay, so we can now do business. So I feel like we have to get to that point where we become very accepting to the fact that women are actually intelligent enough to handle specific roles, and also the fact that they should receive what they duly deserve, irrespective. So there are people like the What's in the News I just took, where you perform the same task, you do everything the same, but still you're paid lesser than your male count simply because you are a woman.
Delivering better.
You're even delivering better. So I think.
Or is it that the women work up is different from the male work up?
So we just have to be generally accepting.
Absolutely. Norma, let me hear your thoughts quickly. Norma, are you there? Oh, did we lose Norma? Oh, Norma, I think you're muted. All right, so while you're gathering your thoughts, let me bring in Maria Chike Benjamin. She's an accomplished realtor, a reality star, former air hostess, and model, known for her passion for helping others and her ability, rather, to connect with people from all walks of life. Maria is a graduate of Media and Performance from the University of Salford, where she graduated with a second-class upper division. She is also a dedicated philanthropist and a community leader, known for her volunteer work and commitment to giving back to the community. Might I add, she's a very pretty woman with a very, very intelligent brain. Hi, Maria. Thank you so much for joining us. You look amazing, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure being on here.
Yeah, I mean, this conversation, first of all, today is International Women's Day, and it was important that we, first of all, featured someone that we know that over the years you have grown, you know, in terms of watching and seeing how far you're transitioning from one role to another, and, you know, at every stage it seems that everything that you've been doing, you know, there's just been some level of success that's been recorded along the line. So it's always good to have women like that, you know, to speak with. So, I mean, if they say equity, the concept of equity, what would that mean to you as Maria? You know, given that I think it was Chinelo was mentioning pretty face. You are a very pretty face, you know.
Thank you.
So, but what would equity mean to you if we're talking about embracing equity, especially in the place where Nigeria, let's put Nigeria as case study, highly patriarchal, a lot of things, you know, it seems like, you know, you have to knock 100 times, you know, for a door that a man might just knock just once and all of that. So what would equity mean to you?
So it's Chinelo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. She literally more or less took the words out my mouth when you did ask the question first. So yes, equity and equality, total different things. Again, it's the fact that yes, women are 100% capable of achieving even more than men can do. I solely believe that because we can do everything men can do, but men can't actually do everything we can do. But not just that, the fact that she mentioned equity. Equity to me, it's the fact that you might just slightly need a little bit of help, like she gave the illustration with the ladders or, you know, climbing up. Doesn't mean I'm not capable of doing that job. I just need a little bit more support because of maybe my physique as a woman, or, you know, men are masculine and we're feminine. So in a way they look at us like, oh, you can't actually do this job. Like, you're tiny, you're petite, you're a woman, you're probably not that intelligent, or you got here through a means of X, Y, Z. So a lot of that, it would be nice to eradicate, not just in Nigeria. I think it's everywhere in the world. I do remember, you know, working in the UK and had the same salary did not have the same salary as a man that were in the same position, and I was actually delivering more because I wanted more, like I wanted to grow with the company, I needed promotion and stuff like that. So I was like more or less busting my, you know, and I wasn't just getting anywhere because I'm a woman at the end of the day. So we do need to like for me, if you ask me how can we get rid of stuff like that, it'd be from home. It's cultural, it's family oriented, it would be your upbringing, first of all. You'd see in certain homes where the elder daughter, would be serving the younger brother just because, oh, he's the head of the house, like that's the first son of the house, and oh, you're the first daughter, or they'd push the men to go to school more than the females or stuff like that. So all of that, we need to put a stop to it and like.
So let me come to your career, because you've transitioned. I mean, I was glancing through your resume, you know, air hostess, realtor, so many businesses you've done. So if you say that you want to like look deeply into your careers over the years, the transitioning that has happened, do you think you have women that you can point to say these are the women, you know, that helped me through those ranks? Or is this something that you truly, you know, struggled on your own just to be, you know, to grow through all of those, you know, or transition through all those jobs that you had done as a businesswoman?
It would be a bit of both, if I'm being honest, and it'd be a bit of my family as well. You know, growing up, my dad would always say, you know, people don't really listen to you if you're not something of your own. So instead of him having to feed me all the time, he'd rather I do what I needed to do by myself, but observe and watch behind and advise. Or so in the sense of inspirational women that I would look up to or I'd want to be like, there are a few, obviously a lot of black women. Opera, for instance, I saw on TV you guys had, when I was backstage watching, Ngozi Iweala. Perfect, amazing example of someone that, you know, a lot of people should look up to. And the struggles in life, if we're being real and honest, is both genders most times, but it's a little bit more harder on women than it is on men. So yes, I did experience a lot of, for instance, when I worked as an air hostess for Emirates, you know, there are certain roles we weren't able to do. It was more or less, you know, you're being pampered as a lady, whereas the men are more, they seem confident or they seem stronger, but I wanted certain roles that I couldn't get just because. And then, in other parts of the world as well, it's totally different. For instance, the Arab country, they barely regard women as, you know, anything. I mean, it's slightly changing, but when I first moved to United Arab Emirates, it was like women are more seen as, oh, homely, just get covered up, you can't really say much. And it affected my job as well, like the role in my job, because most of my seniors, when I first started, or the, the hierarchy, like the chain of command, they were all Arabs and mostly English as well. So the Arabs, you can't really say much or you can't demand certain things because they'd be like, you're a woman, you can't even ask for that. So it was hard. And so it's just a bit of both that you keep growing with and learning that you're strong and you just have to, you are a strong woman and you just have to keep.
Julia, let me come to you.
Okay, so I'd actually like to talk about beauty privilege or beauty bias, right? First of all, do you think this is actually a thing, and how have you experienced and how has that affected you as a woman?
I'd be lying if I sat here and say it's not a thing. It is a thing. It's never affected me. It's been a stereotype, if I'm being honest. But that I haven't actually gotten anywhere, if I'm being completely honest, just because I look a certain way, or maybe to other people, oh, you're so beautiful, so we'll give you this. Not in the parts of the world that I grew up in. There are so many beautiful women. Mostly I feel like that happens a lot in Africa, Nigeria to be precise. Other countries, if you're being more, it's everywhere in the world, but mostly it's a thing in Nigeria, you know. But other parts of the world, sometimes it's a bit of both. Like you have to be beautiful and you know your stuff as well. So when you're speaking or when you're interacting with certain, you know, level of caliber of people, you actually do know what you're talking about, or you are fit for the job. But but mostly just in Nigeria, it's like, okay, we'll get you here, you're beautiful, that's it. We just need you to be beautiful. So there is a thing as pretty privileges. I don't want to believe it's gotten me anywhere, because I don't think I've used that card.
Are you sure about that?
If it did, I should be somewhere better than where I am now. But I'm not there yet. So, and I avoid stuff like that as well, because I want to work for what I've done. I don't want the glory of no glory, if you know what I mean. So I want my glory to be, I did this, and they can recognize that I did this. So I'm glorified.
Put in the work.
Yeah, and I'm glorified for that. So yeah.
Okay. So I really want to know more about your venture into real estate, because from what I gathered, it's a male-dominated field. So how has that been, and how were you able to transition into real estate?
I was in real estate for a very short period of time. It was in Dubai. A lot of men are into it. You barely have women who are realtors. So it was a time when obviously COVID happened and I got made redundant with Emirates. So the next step was to look for another job, and immediately I really got with a great company. It was actually an English company, but the struggle was real, in the sense that there was no respect for time. People would call you whenever, weekends, weekdays, midnight, to go over certain contracts, or even ask you to send them pictures or videos of houses. But the male realtors were more. Okay, so a lot of Arabs would own buildings in Dubai, and they're the landlords and stuff like that. So they would look at me like, you're a woman, what are you doing in this field? So I wouldn't be listened to as much as the male would. So what I then did was be very friendly, overly friendly with my male colleagues, so they can introduce me to their landlords, and I can get a share of certain properties, and then, because everything, it's more like, okay, this is my region, that's your region. So it was hard at the beginning. I was probably not making any money, because it's on commission basics and stuff like that, till I got the hinge of it and the gist of it, and I got a lot of landlords on my side. And naturally, I'm a chatty person, and I'm a very bubbly person, I believe.
Really?
So, yeah. And
so are you trying to be calm with us here? Because we need the bubbly.
Oh, okay. Well, we're asking serious questions. But,
no, we can have fun while we're discussing serious things.
So, I did my little thing, and I got a lot of love, I'm not going to lie. So if that's where the pretty privilege comes from, maybe. They did mistake me half of the times to be Arab because of the way I dressed back then. So yeah, I kind of succeeded in getting more properties under my name, and then I was selling and obviously renting as well. So then I started making money, and before I decided to move back to Nigeria.
Wow.
Yeah.
Norma, are you there now? Yes, we can. Muffled, but we're trying to hear you. Oh, you know what, Norma, hold that thought. Let's quickly go on a break, right? When we come back from the break, we'll continue the conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Increase the reach of your events or business services To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408, or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
All right, thanks for staying with us. Now, if you just tuned in, we're discussing gender equity for Nigerian women in leadership and business, and we still have with us Maria Chike Benjamin. Now, please remember you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-4663. You can also tweet at us at Way Show Africa 1 with the hashtag Way Show. All right, Nama, are you there now?
Yes, I'm here.
Awesome, we can hear you clearly now. Go ahead.
All right. So, Maria, I really love the fact that you also have a real estate background, which was my first love before so many other things. So, but I wanted to just piggyback off what you had said earlier, talking about women understanding their strength and all. And I wanted you to touch a little bit about women also trying to prove themselves. So you found yourself in an environment that was male dominated, and you have a lot of women who are constantly, trying to prove themselves and trying to give themselves a sense of purpose, and in the process they're crushing themselves with so many responsibilities. You're a mom, you're a career woman, you're a businesswoman, you're so many responsibilities that they have to hold as women, right? How do women begin to balance their quest to find purpose in life, as well as overcome the imposter syndrome that they struggle with?
I think that's why today's very important, being International Women's Day, because that awareness has to more or less go out further and be, educated to younger generations that just feel like a woman's just supposed to be married and be in her husband's house and have children. Again, I can't stress enough, it does have to start from the families and home. And just believing yourself. If a man can literally do anything, and just to remove men out of it, so it's not like we're rubbing shoulders or, just you as a being, just being a lady, a woman, just knowing that you can actually do all things, have that in mind, and you can always try and fail. The more you fail, the more you can, know your strengths and your weaknesses and succeed further on in life. So I think it's just personal self-accountability, like knowing, okay, I'm not so good at this, so I have to learn further, or I have to push myself a little bit harder, or I am good at this, so this is my field. I'll teach other women. And again, today it's more about women supporting women, not just breaking our weaknesses and shaming each other with our weaknesses, but learning from our weaknesses as well, and making it our strength, and looking at other people's strength as well, like other women's strength, and like learning from them. So it's not a competition, because there's always a timeline for everyone to win in life. That's what I believe. So your friends might be winning today, and tomorrow might just be your turn. So it's just loving and supporting each other with strengths and weaknesses all around.
It's interesting you're talking about that waiting your turn and all of that. And I keep wondering, why are women so hostile towards other women? I am blessed to be managing a team of, I don't even know how many women now, you know. And for some strange reason, it has never crossed my mind to feel like, you know, somebody's trying to outshine somebody. But I see that a lot with women because, again, it's important that we are women and we must be honest with ourselves, right? We're fighting for equity, we're fighting for women and all of that. The problem that we have, it is not from men. Do you understand? The biggest problem or the biggest challenge I see us having is women ourselves, right? I see this person, you know, I believe in tapping into people's strength and just forget about their weaknesses. That one no concern.
Likewise.
You know, let's focus on what they are good at and just continue to, you know, push them with what it is that they are good at. But you see, I see a lot of women struggle with that. Why is that so? You know, so and how can we start to better, you know, better encourage and better embrace ourselves as women? Because first of all, we can keep the men aside. They are really not our problem. If we want to really be honest with ourselves, women, we are our biggest problem. So how do we start to do that? What do you think we can do?
Your opinion's great. I disagree.
Okay. I like that you disagree.
Yeah,
Please tell
I disagree just because I don't want to 100% base our, what did you call it? Our envy within each other. I don't want to blame it on solely just men. But men do have their little, you know, say in why women fight each other, or not that, you know, that's something I don't think of ever, it's never been in me to be envious of any other woman. You know, you have your qualities, you have your strengths, and you have your own beauty, you know. One minute you look at a beautiful woman, you walk past another room, you find someone way more beautiful than her, and it just, you know, the beauty just carries on. That's what I believe in. So everyone's unique in their own little ways. But men, on the other hand, again, I'm going to stress family orientation. It starts with, oh, but your elder sister's doing this and she's better at this. You know, it kind of just discourages you. Your parents are already, you know, leveling you up with your elder sister or your little sister, who, you know, there's comparison there. And instead of it encouraging you or making you fight better, you know, your zeal is dead immediately. That's how I function when people bring me down. But then immediately you have to think, no, I am actually Maria Chike and I can do this. And you go ahead and fight for yourself. But it starts with family. And then the other hand is men. Because men are a huge problem. No, I'm joking. Really? No, they're not. No, men are amazing. I love men. No, I mean in the fact that, you know, there's competition with marriages, with dating, with siblings even, you know. Some brothers have their favorite female sibling, or because of our ages.
I don't know how you want to coin this thing. When women go, for instance, you know, okay, let's even take beauty, because I can bet you for free that your beauty will be a problem to many people around you, right? Because you are distinctively beautiful. So it's not you're not someone that will walk into a room unnoticed, right?
Okay.
So it is not the men. It is the fellow woman that says, what is Maria doing differently? Which cream is she rubbing? Because they think sometimes it's cream. You know, I mean, I'm just saying to you that if we really want to bridge certain gaps that we see as lapses, right, in amongst women, amongst ourselves, we must first of all learn to embrace ourselves and accept ourselves the way we are. Because when we start to benchmark whether we're more beautiful, benchmark it with this person or this person, we are the cause of our problems. It's not really the men.
So that's why I stated initially, you have to just, you know, like I was saying, you could walk into a room, you see someone more beautiful than you are, or XYZ, it carries on. You can never find a woman who's the most beautiful ever. So everyone has their uniqueness in them. But the reason as to why certain women are envious of others is because, for instance, I could be sat with you, I'm with a husband or a partner, and you walk in and it's like he's looking at you like, wow, who's this lady? She's absolutely stunning. That would affect me, you know, like why are you looking at her? You know, but instead of me just appreciating your beauty to say, wow, you're actually so stunning, I want to be friends with you, I'm more concerned with the fact that whoever I'm with, or even a girlfriend, let's leave men aside. It could actually be girlfriend and girlfriend. You know, we're high school friends, and she wants to be friends with you because you're so much more beautiful than her best friend who's just sat next to her. But it could be we just like something about you. But instead of me to embrace that and want to be friends with you and learn about you, or
It's interesting. I like your analogy, but I will still put it to you that it is us, right? Because if somebody does that to me, like you rightly said, I'll walk up to you and tell you actually. So we need to learn first of all to appreciate each other. You know where I'm going with this conversation? Because again, sometimes we're talking about how we can build more women in business and leadership. The only way we can do that is to first of all set aside some of these things that stands as barriers and find a way to continue to build. So for instance, there's a business opportunity and I know that I cannot deliver at 100%, but I know Maria can do 110%. Why? What's stopping me from putting her name or mentioning her name for, you know? So that's the thing. If we really must build, right? If we must grow women, if we must begin to bridge some of these gaps that we have, and, you know, we need to then start to see it and say, you know what, for every opportunity that I get. So my sister is in a position of leadership, for instance, in our organization. And she makes it as a point of duty that for every time she's given a task to hire, if she's hiring 5 people, 3 of those 5 people must be women. And she will go and fish out the competent ones. Do you understand? So if we are very deliberate about all of these things, we'll begin to build more women in roles of leadership, and we'll continue to grow more women businesses, right? So if we start to first of all put aside some of the things that really disturbs us, because I don't understand. I mean, there's beauty, yes, is one of the biggest problems that a lot of women have, because they just feel like, you know what, I think I can be more, I need to look like this person more, and all of that. And I think that's a distraction for a lot of women, because now we're not seeing the real greatness people have. So for instance, we read your CV, you know, someone that has a 2-1, she has a DC, but everybody that keeps on talking about you is just, oh, she's beautiful, and that it ends there. I mean, doesn't that even get to you as a woman?
Oh, it bothers me. Yeah, no, seriously.
Yeah, go ahead. So, I mean, so how do we begin to correct that? So how can we be very deliberate about it so that we're not saying that it's only, you know, we need to start to be very intentional about growing those kinds of portfolios for women. That's what I'm going
But then when you state what you've stated, then it's not really gender-based, is it? Because you will find males who are likewise doing the same thing in big companies. You could find a man who's in the role of leadership and would just out of jealousy or like just a certain personality that person has or upbringing, not want to put his fellow man who he knows is capable for that.
Men will not do that too.
Men do.
No, I lie.
I believe they do. You think so?
You've not met them.
Oh, I know them.
You know them?
I believe so. I think it's just personality. I wouldn't base that on gender, if you ask me. I think it's individual. It's an individual thing. And again, upbringing does matter a lot. I don't know why I keep talking about family orientation, but I feel like if there's so much love given to children, not just your needs or your wants, but like real love as to how you should share.
How you're raised.
Yeah, how you're raised, how you should share your space, how you should share who you are as a person, and how you should actually love other people. It starts from, you know, your tender age, and once you reach or miss that gap, you just become like the rest of the people in the world.
Okay.
How do you think it should be?
Well,
okay, so for me, I'm just going to talk about gender equity in business now, for example. So it is widely believed that there's a strong correlation between gender equity and organizational success, right? But then in most cases, by the time you start to get to certain levels, like the managerial levels, now you start to see that there's a hollow middle that women are suffering, because you get to see fewer women above the managerial levels. It's usually men that you see sitting on the boards, men like the EDs. It's rare. I'm not saying there are no women, but then it's quite rare to see women on boards. And then in most cases, when you even see women there, you find out that that woman has more female enemies in the organization than her male counterparts. And this is, I mean, I have seen this happen in several places. When a woman rises, they are barely, maybe now, because of this other, okay, I'll say my generation now, because we're now beginning to realize that, okay, we're supposed to do these women supporting women things. We're supposed to hold each other's hands and try to, move up and all of that. But then, looking back, there's that hollow middle that is very, very conspicuous. And I think that's why we need to actually embrace this, the theme for this year's IWD, because we need to now understand that when you see another woman climbing up a ladder, it's very important for you to hold on. Because it's easier for her to pull you than for a man to pull you. I don't know if you understand what I mean. So yeah, I think that women need to do a better job at supporting each other.
So
Let me
how
bring
do we
this
do
to
that?
politics now as well, right? It's also playing a very, very huge role, because you see a woman going for certain roles and then you see it's quite difficult.
And who are the voters?
Women, actually.
And they vote for the men.
In most cases.
Let's not discuss politics for the sake of somebody. But Norma, let me come to you.
Well, is it to ask a question? Or?
No, just to make a comment. I think we're actually wrapping up. We ran out of time.
Yeah, I think we've raised really salient points concerning women and how important it is for us to see ourselves first as individuals who have strength and who have great potential, and who have what it takes to be able to change whatever environment that they find themselves, whether it's in the professional or in the community as at large, and how important synergy and being able to work together can be when we are able to leverage on each other's strengths. It makes even for more accomplishments of whatever it is that we put our minds to. And I really like the fact that Maria has pointed out certain areas, the area of family and how important it is, orientation, because really the people that we become in our communities and in our societies, even the women that we see today, were as a result of family orientation, where you have come to believe that you're nothing, or you don't have a voice, or you don't have anything significant to contribute. And it's time for us to begin to fight those ideologies that have been passed on from one generation to the other. Another very key thing that I really like that we were able to point out is the area of mentorship. For a very long time, I didn't have women that I could actually look up to and say that, oh, I would love to be like this person, or I would love to be like that. But across board, you can see men in business, you can see men in IT, in whatever fields and organizations that you see, there are people that you can actually look up to. So if women can begin to rise up to those responsibilities of not just supporting other women, but being the ideal for what women should be, then I think that we would be able to overcome whatever challenges that we find in the workspace.
Oh, wow. Okay. We need to run quickly. Chinelo.
Okay. Good evening, my dear beautiful sisters of What Are You Saying? #ways. And happy International Women's Day to you, beautiful ladies. Thank you. Both those in the studio and other ladies. Gender equity for Nigerian women in leadership and business. We thank God for gender equity. Concerning Nigerian women in leadership and business, they really stand out. If we have women contesting for offices in government, trust me, they will deliver. Also, I don't think they will have time to do what men do in government. That is rig their way through during elections. I am a man, but women are a disgrace and embarrassment. I didn't say that.
Yes.
Women I know can deliver and turn things around, if possible, change Nigeria. Your guest is exceptionally beautiful. My name is Daniel Iloways.
Thank you, Daniel. Someone was asking about this, but we ran out of time. But thank you so much, Maria. We hope to bring you back again.
It's such a pleasure being here.
Yeah, we have to talk about something else, but it's not today.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you, Glory. Thank you, Chinelo. Thank you, Norma. Now, before we go quickly, ensure you follow us across all our social media handles at PlusTvAfrica. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and more importantly, follow all our engagements on social media, like, share, and invite your families and friends to watch and follow the conversation. If you missed our quote for today, here it is again. Both men and women should feel free to be sensitive. Both men and women should feel free to be strong. It is time that we all perceive gender on a spectrum, not as two opposing sets of ideas. Emma Watson said that. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 8 p.m. It's our ladies' night out, right?
Yeah.
So bring another great conversation to your screen. We might just have a politician amongst us tomorrow. Oh.